We are Badly Needed and Long Overdue, a controversial podcast about Colorado Springs. It's controversial because it makes sense. I'm your host, Nick Raven, and hanging out with me virtually, I'm looking at her right now, is my co-pilot and navigator, Emily Lewis. How are you doing, Emily?
I'm doing well, Nick. Thank you.
You're very welcome. This is... Oh, we're breaking we're sowing new fields. We're breaking new ice. What are we doing? We're making it through.
Yes, we are carving a new path.
I'll take it. We're plowing the cow trails. We are a podcast that's been long requested. I don't think there's been any actual institution or body that said, what does Colorado Springs need? Oh, we need a leftist, liberal-leaning podcast about affairs, because obviously all the Gazette it would be the Gazette, but all the people would be like laugh emoticon, because that's all you see on Gazette articles is. You see, oh, it's COVID. This is the reason why people are dying. Laugh, 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 laugh. It's all fake.
It's all
not
fake.
Real. Yeah, exactly.
100% not fake news.
Oh, thank God. There's a number of podcasts in town. I don't know. Did you listen to some of these other ones as well?
I listened at them.
You listened at them?
Yes. I didn't... There was nothing that held my interest for long enough to avidly follow them.
Sure. There was I do listen to a couple ongoing. I do listen to the city's podcast Behind the Springs with Jen Schrader. Mm-hmm. And that's a really good window into the operations of the city, even if it's really sanitized and short and very, well, thank you for having me today. Very talk showy.
Yes.
Which is why I really wanted to have an informal or more informal podcast here. My cat is he's perched on the end of the table and he's just watching the door. Who knows what's going to happen. But I also listened to Councilman Bill Murray's podcast, which I agree with him usually about half the time. I think I do. And then most of it is just kind of him. It's a ramble cast, essentially. And he'll have a guest on, and they'll be quiet for most of the time. And they'll be like, well, what do you think, Emily? And
well, I think, Nick.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your opinion. Anyway, let's talk about metropolitan tax districts. Let's get going here.
No, I don't want to.
Oh. I was really looking forward to like 45-minute podcast about metropolitan tax districts. Now I'm gonna have to sneak it in. There's gonna be like, oh, that podcast. So remember that episode we were gonna talk about donuts and whiskey? Turns out that was a code phrase for metropolitan tax districts and quasi-judicial entities that exist to extract taxes from residences and houses and stuff. To cover infrastructure costs. Yes, and stormwater. All that great stuff.
No.
And I should also mention that I did listen when it was around. I guess it ended one day. It was Little London. It was the Little London show. Yes. It was Darcy and I can't remember the other guy, but I think it was just Darcy in the end. And they covered a lot of local issues. They would bring in people from the county, from the city, or wherever. And I learned a lot about city initiatives. This is, after all, a podcast about the city. So
yes,
stuff that's hyper local to what's going on in town. And I think you can relate to how conservative the media has been here.
Oh, it's listening to the media's idea of what Colorado Springs is and the actual reality of what Colorado Springs is are two completely different things.
Right.
I've been here off and on since 1979. And
Good
so I
Smashing
have
Pumpkins song.
seen I have seen the drastic changes that have been made in Colorado Springs throughout that time.
Mm-hmm.
And we do not have we don't have a interesting voice
No.
as to what the non-conservatives are doing in Colorado Springs. And, I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to get involved in this, is because I think between the two of us, yes, we're going to talk about the important stuff, but we're also going to kind of be stupid about it. It's going to be fun. We're probably going to laugh.
A little self-deprecating.
Yes, if you don't, I don't know what to say, then turn the volume up so you can hear our hilarity.
I think I think you're absolutely right. It's one thing that there's kind of a lack of plan on the conservative side, which means that conservative coverage of conservative talking points means a lot of talking about nothing and a lot of people railing against stuff. And I think there's just a complete lack of humor on that side and a lack of humility as well.
Yes.
Because, if conservatism fails, it's because God said, blah, 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 or the devil stopped us, or it was the liberals. The liberals are the devil. That's what we are. And so it would be great to have a casual or more casual conversation about what's going on in town. Bring in guests, have a mixture of people coming in here with probably similar perspectives. I'm not going to shut out people entirely if they have different perspectives. But, I mean, if you're going to be one of those big lie Republicans, do not apply here. That's not the kind of nonsense we're going to put up with. We have to establish a firm foundation in reality that you can then build upon. And that's what you'll notice is that since the conservatives, the regressives, I'll call them that a lot, the regressives don't have a firm foundation in reality, they don't have a plan because there's nothing to build on. So
no, because their entire plan is to remove things until we're back in, the 1700s with the founding fathers.
Right, exactly. They want to Control Z all the way back to infinity, and all the way back to Caucasian Scandinavian Jesus rescued them from their sins or whatever.
Yeah, the blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus with the ripped abs.
Oh God, we really need a picture of Jesus with ripped abs.
No, I've seen it. We don't need it.
Oh, excited. I'm not sponsored by my drink provider. I just drink it. That's just how it is. It's not a conspiracy.
My mind's in an empty through.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. That's smart. That's a life hack.
It's nothing fun. It's literally tea.
Oh.
That,
So
do you pretend it's something else?
Do you put your tea in your water glass and your coffee in your water in your coffee mug? Is that what you do?
No, that's really just for the most special people.
Okay.
It's just the most special people that get to do that.
Okay, that's fair. So you moved here were you born here in Colorado Springs?
Oh God, no.
Okay, where were you?
I was born in Dallas.
Okay. And how did you get to come up here to Colorado Springs? Let's walk down the journey. The path. The cow path.
I think that I was still pretty young when we came up. I want to say we came up to visit someone and just stayed.
That's how it works.
Even at that way back in 79, Florida Springs was a drastically different place.
Tell me about that.
It was, I mean, these were the same people that lobbied and fought against the Olympics coming to Colorado because of
Yeah,
the environmental
74.
damage it was
Right.
going to cause. Um, we were much more, lack of a better term, Colorado Springs was a lot more granola in than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
It was everything was about the outdoors and taking care of the environment that we lived in and that kind of thing. And slowly, as certain entities, which shall not be named here, moved in and started taking over some things. When we came back in, we bounced around between here and outside of Dallas for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Then we came back in 91. That was when the proposition had just passed, making it taking away any rights of same-sex partners as far as insurance and that kind of thing.
It was a 92, I think that was.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah, end of the election cycle of 92. And that was the Colorado Springs that I came back into.
And the Colorado too. This was like
Yeah.
the hate state.
Yes, yes, because of entities that shall not be named here. Um, and that's something that we have actively fought against from 92 on. Colorado Springs is this little red mecca in the middle of mostly blue,
Yeah.
and the strides that we're making in at least going a little more purple are always hindered by the military population that we have in town and the tired people that come back to Colorado Springs because of its conservative nature.
Right.
So our only option is to make noise and challenge the status quo, because otherwise we're always going to be what we are.
A massive suburb.
And it's not okay. It's not okay.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You hit it on the head there of this for so long felt like a gift shop community. It very subtle. You had the Air Force Academy. You had Tava, which people call Pikes Peak. I'll call it Tava because that was the original name. Go figure. It's interesting how much the city is held out because alongside legislation like the removing protections for gay people and that they are also pushing Tabor. The whole Doug Bruce thing, and he was an elected representative. And
Don't get me started.
We'll have an episode for that. Don't you worry. If you're into,
It's all in one.
yeah, into the Mr. Tabor audience, I was actually driving up Academy a couple years ago, and I actually wound up behind him, and I didn't recognize him at first, but I saw his bumper stickers for Trump and how welfare should be as accessible as building permits, which they basically are, and. And then I saw the license plate, and it said Mr. Tabor, and it's like, oh no,
No.
Yeah, the back of his car looks like trash. It's just.
Oh.
I appreciate him holding on to that early '90s whatever he's got. That's really cool, but he's just broadcasting his ideology. If he had a truck, he'd have a truck flag. That's where he's at.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So
100%.
I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. It was non-denominational, but it was basically Baptist. My dad actually. My grandfather served in the Army Air Corps. It was the Navy and then the Army Air Corps during World War II. They got stationed out at Michigan. That's where my dad was born. They moved out to Colorado in like 66 or 67, I think it was, late 60s. And they were up in Woodmore. So I'm very familiar with the woods up there. And he grew up there. And they had, so he was familiar with Colorado Springs. Kind of Academy was a dirt 2-lane road down all the way down. They had just finished the first half of the Citadel, because back in the day the Citadel was just the east wing, basically, before it went west out, and it had the food court and all that stuff. We like to think of the Citadel as the T, but it was just the top part back then. And so they had to leave. They moved to Texas, and that's where my parents met and all that fun stuff. My dad enlisted into the Air Force, and so we bounced around a bit. I was born in Germany. And then here and there, we finally moved to Colorado Springs. My dad got stationed out at Falcon Air Force Base, which became Schriever a couple years in. And so we moved here to Colorado Springs, and that was really exciting. I'd been out here a couple times, and I remember it was just like you did. It was that gift shop community. It was that let's go see the Neiman Marcus, which is now the I'm gonna say the Asian Pacific Market out on Platte.
Yes. I do believe so.
Yeah, and went to the chapel, and because that's a thing. No matter what you think about the military or religion, like that chapel is one of the most amazing pieces of architecture ever.
Oh, 100%. I love it.
Yeah, and back in the day, my dad was an altar boy there for the Catholic Church there, so they would have competitions between them and the Protestants, and whoever had the most attendance got to have the upper chapel. And I don't know if you've seen it, but or even those listening, but there's the upper chapel, which is the beautiful. It's the tent, the A-frame, but then there's like a basement. And sometimes some years, if you didn't have enough people, it's like, well, you get the basement this year. And so he did that, and that was one of his fondest memories as well. But I moved out here. I was conservative for a very long time, and then over the course of time, I moved to the left, and around 2012, I was voting for Gary Johnson. So I know how that ticket goes. Hey, no judgment here. I see you shaking. You know what? I'm going to pull out my carbonated drink and have a Swift. Hang on. And
You're young. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. And then I moved to Phoenix, and that's basically when I got radicalized. I left here. I love Colorado Springs so much, and I was like, I'm coming back no matter what. If I find success in Phoenix or not, I'm coming back here. I'm going to find a way. And when I was there, I had to work overnights at Walmart. And what that taught me, especially because this was right around when Bernie was starting his campaign, he was like the first candidate I'd ever seen that talked about inequality, wealth inequality, and what politicians should do. It's not me, it's us, that mentality. And I know that woke a lot of people up, and not in the, oh, you're woke, blah, blah, blah. I mean, also that too, but it really radicalized me on the point of what's the point of having these places in America where there's no opportunity and no one's doing anything about it, and the market is not creating opportunities there. Like, that's the thing that conservatism talks about all the time. And by the way, I lost my religion at a point too.
It's left.
Yeah, it's bye.
Bags.
It's like the REM song. It's packed. Yeah, it's out of there. Church went home. And it radicalized me on this notion that the free market's not going to help. Like, it's not just going to provide opportunities wherever people exist. The free market does not care about people. It will grind people to dust after years and years and decades of not providing any benefit at all. And who's going to help that? And so if you have a government that's willing to help, which we see around the world that do this thing, you can have a more successful society. And then when I come back to Colorado Springs, I'm automatically starting to engage. I'm taking a look at we were here for just a few months, and there was the caucus of 2016 where we're in the high school, and it was so intense because you had all the Bernie people and you had the Hillary people. It was just blowout. Everyone showing up for the first time ever, and it was invigorating. And I remember I was talking with Chris Walters, who was running for he lost the election, but it was for HD 14 on the north end, which is a really red district because it's rich white people up near the academy. And I was talking to him, and he kind of briefed me because he'd been in with the El Paso County Democrats at that point about the lay of the land, essentially. And he kind of brought me up to date on that. And then we had the assembly afterward. That's when Electra got elected chair, Tracy, Tim and Nolan and a couple others. That's when that entire crowd came in. Yeah. And so that's how I started getting involved with the local party and getting to know people. And so now years later, it's nice to kind of have a Rolodex of local politicos to be able to lean back on and be like, hey, I know that person. And so it's the dream then to be able to use the podcast as like a platform to be able to express what not just like party politics or party planks, but to express how we, with a left-leaning perspective, can show how we can make our city so much better.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
Because it's been proven over and over elsewhere. And, sometimes things don't work out, but then you find the ways that do. But the point is not to sit here and just let things be or let the free market decide, because the free market does not decide if the homeless problem gets solved.
No, well, you know who we have to thank for this whole free market government idea?
Who?
Ronald Reagan.
Oh, thank you. Reaganomics.
Yes. Yes, Ronald Reagan is one of the, in recent history, came in and said, smaller government, which means we need to privatize all of these things. Up until that point, the government was taken care of.
Yeah.
And so now we've been free marketed into oblivion. And it's the only way that we can take that back is to start right where we're starting. And that is within your hometown.
Yep.
Within your local politics. And, yes, we still need to look at the stuff that's going on, the big picture. Our best bet is right here at home and making those changes here.
In Colorado Springs. Absolutely. Yeah, acting locally, 100%. Thinking globally.
Yes.
That is the dream. And
right.
It's so there are absolutely things we're going to hit on. We're going to talk about potholes in roads. We're going to talk about 2C. We're going to talk about initiatives as they come along. We do want to talk about
waiting 2 hours for a bus.
Oh my god. Yeah, we're going to talk about public transportation. We're talking about multi-modal transportation. We're going to get guests in here 100%. And we're going to talk about...
the fact...
What's that?
I was going to say, and the fact that when you're riding the fun little scooters, you can't actively ride them in front of City Hall, and you can't park them there either.
Yeah, we got to figure that out.
If your scooter is in front of City Hall, you have to walk it down a block and a half to park it.
And then there were the dead zones, but that's a technological issue, and I'm sure they'll figure that out when they add an extra cell tower or something right along there. But yeah, we'll talk about scooters, we'll talk about bike ride and bicycles and stuff like that. We'll talk about the bus system, which I use basically every day, and all the opportunities there. But we're also going to talk about cars, because cars are still a vital component to how people get around. We're going to talk about autonomous vehicles, and I got to ride one of the electric buses. It's not autonomous, but someday they probably will be. It'll be like those shuttles at Disneyland or the airport or something like that. You just hop on and go.
And our new light rail system that they're
Thinking
actively
about?
like
Oh God, that'd be great. I actually
looking at.
just this morning I went on the internet. I don't know if you've heard of it. The internet,
Internet?
the interweb, the information superhighway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Bill Gates
I
land.
think
Uh, but I was actually plotting out a trip with the Mustang up to Denver because like, what would that even look like? And I kind of got a headache because you have to figure out the Mustang, but then you also have to link that in with RTD up in Denver, which are two totally different systems. And Google
Yes,
kind of
they
knows
are.
this, but they don't know about Mustang. So we're going to talk about that.
No.
We're going to talk about Tabor. We're going to talk about schools, education. We're going to talk about zoning and additional dwelling units and the missing middle that is seldom remembered here. That you can have
Yes.
more than single houses. We're going to talk about Banning Lewis. Banning Lewis Ranch and that huge swath of nothing that if we don't do anything is just going to be rubber stamped into oblivion with tract housing, and the developers are going to take their money and run for the hills.
Or another super overpriced apartment complex that nobody can afford to live in.
Yeah. We got to talk about densification. We got to talk about food deserts, health deserts, the southeast, the northwest, west side, east side, north side, south side. We're going to talk about water.
Downtown is a multiple things desert.
It is. I was actually thinking because okay, Emily, I've been dreaming of moving in downtown. It's a dream of mine. But I think for even a split second, what if I need to go get let's just say some macaroni and cheese gummies? Like, where am I gonna go to get those? And
Nowhere. No one should ever eat those.
but I'm thinking about it, and
food.
then
No, food.
so fake food or real food, either way, where am I going to get it? And if I'm living downtown, where's the nearest Walgreens? It's up at Platt and like Institution, or you have to go all the way or Union. Where's the nearest CVS? I don't even know. Where's the nearest grocery store?
Nearest CVS is Platt and Circle.
Yes, and I've been there. I know that corner because it used to be the Flower-Rama.
You have options. There's the 7-Eleven down by Palmer High School.
Yeah, there's that. There's the one down. Did they close the one that's a little further in town? It's like someone ran into
that
it.
one. No, they closed that one completely. That was just it's just empty space now.
Oh, well, we'll put the podcast
overrun.
studio in there.
Yeah, it was overrun with our unhomed
Oh,
that hang around downtown.
well, that's
And I don't mean that
in a derogatory
not in a negative
sense.
way.
Yeah. Because we do also need to talk about homelessness. We need to talk about housing authority and turning housing into a right and not just a commodity. We need to talk about that come and go, because there is a come and go. I know there's a come and go there, across from the Mission, but like grocery stores and that. If you're in the southeast, where's your hospital? You got Matthews VU there, and then you're gonna go to Memorial. It's absurd, the lack of services. Where's the sidewalks?
Go to Memorial.
Yeah.
Go to Memorial.
Yeah, it's there, but it's like, oh my God, I have to go all the way to Memorial for any kind of an emergency. So
yeah, no sidewalks, no crosswalks, no nothing. If you're not in a car, you're taking your life into your hands every time you leave your house.
Yeah, and hopefully it didn't just snow, because the sidewalks are the last things that get plowed, if they ever do. I've done that so many times. Yeah. Yeah, trudging through 3-4 inches of snow after a snowstorm. The roads are clear. The snow is drifted up and packed up against the side, which makes walking through it even easier. Of course,
Yes.
That's how it works in winter.
Adventure.
We have to talk about fire. We have to talk about this. I mean, We've been experiencing some wetter weather, but overall it's been very dry. And the idea
Yes.
of a fire blowing up like it did a couple fires in just one day is really scary. So we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Expansions, rights use, all that fun stuff. The urban environmental wildlife interface.
You're
Garden
going to
of the
make me
Gods.
talk about water rights?
I think we should eventually.
Okay. Just let me know when we're going to do that.
Yeah.
I'll have like a pin or something over here I can keep sticking up my finger so I stay awake long enough. It's not that it's not important. It's just not. And I think that's the really bad thing is some of the things that we do need to talk about are boring. And there's no way to make them not. They just are.
That's a challenge accepted, Emily. That's what this podcast. We're gonna turn the boring stuff into not boring stuff so that people give a crap about what's going on. Because unfortunately, that's kind of the point of government, is to do the boring stuff. When people get outraged at the government, it's over the stuff that isn't boring and ultimately doesn't matter.
Yes, I think we should do it with you topless. I think that'll help.
Excellent. Good. I've got my picture of Jesus with his firm abs over here, and that's inspiration for me as for someone who's not religious, to be like, you know what? I can do this. I can. And if you're listening, none of this is going to matter anyway, but it doesn't matter.
How many sit-ups would Jesus do?
I'm going to get that as one of those Livestrong bracelets or something. How many sit-ups would Jesus do?
Yep. Yeah, so, exactly.
So we have a lot of opportunities here. We have, I'm very excited. I'm so happy that you're in here with me. And we're gonna, I want this to be a vehicle for people who have not had a way to speak yet, to understand what's going on in this town, and to work at making it a better place for everyone. Not just the few, not just the developers, not just the rich. This should be a city that works for everyone.
100%. And part of that is making sure that everyone can be represented.
Absolutely.
Another topic to touch on is our ridiculous city council salary.
Yeah, it blows my mind kind of that there are positions and there are people, I guarantee there has to be at least a dozen or so that working out of that city administration building under the mayor that make more than all of the city council members combined. Like just
in 1 year.
In 1 year, just each individual person makes more than all of city council combined. And city council doesn't have the support staff. It doesn't have the representation because the only people who can run for city council are the independently wealthy. They're the spouses of the spouses of the independently wealthy. They're the business people who are independently wealthy. They're the pensioners. They're this and that, and that means that the average age is something like 55 years old or something, and white. And it's how do you even represent the growing needs of a community when everyone has the same old school opinions, has the same generational thoughts about how a city runs?
And you absolutely can't. That's been part of the problem with the Springs anyway, is because we're continuing to run Colorado Springs as it existed in the early to mid 90s.
Yeah, or earlier. The 50s.
We are massively bigger than we used to be. And I think that our representation really needs to reflect that, and it doesn't. On top of that, we are not a predominantly financially well-off city. So,
in part thanks to Tabor, and in part thanks to conservatives who don't want to actually fund initiatives or get things done and have no ambition and no plan, what we were talking about earlier.
And not putting, no one being willing to step up and put a cap on what it costs to live in this city.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we got to talk about how the state overlaps with that. And I know we'll have some guests and future legislators in here that are going to be able to speak to what we can do as a home rule municipality and what we can do under Colorado state law. And we're going to do it in a way that's exciting. And maybe I'm not topless for that episode, but there will be others. Don't worry.
Okay. All right.
But
so just remember, you're the one that's topless. I'm just going to sit here and be cute.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
It's my job.
That's fine. Do I get to wear the Chippendales bow tie with the collar?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely. Get you some Wendy O. Williams pasties.
Oh my God. This is what you signed up for. Subscribe and like today. Listen everywhere you have a podcast.
Medias.
Yeah, watch us on YouTube. But yeah, I want this to be fun. I want us to be able to explain things, and I want to be an advocate for people who are not getting heard, because it is very much a conservatives-only club here. If you're not a conservative, you get locked out for all these jurisdictional reasons. So we're hoping as this city starts to purple, or purples more, I should say. We've been making really good strides in the past few years. As the county begins to purple, we can use this as a platform. And I don't want to leave out like a podcast like Just CUS run down at the Chinook Center either. They've been doing good work highlighting stuff like police brutality, and they were investigated. There was a big story out of the Colorado Springs Indy about how the police had been investigating them for no reason.
Yeah,
just because they're leftists.
Investigation.
Yeah. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. What are we...
If you remember reading it, though, this police officer actually registered to vote under their assumed name in case anyone checked it out.
Who's policing the police? Not enough people, I guess.
No, because that's the other thing we need to talk about, too.
Yes, we absolutely need to talk about CSPD and the entire... and Devon Bailey. We need to talk about that. We need to go down the whole Black Lives Matter thing as well. And it would be great to have some great guests out of that as well. So I'm excited. I am thrilled. This is such a great opportunity for us, and I hope that you guys will stick with us as we go on our tour and explore these things and talk about them, and maybe aren't topless. We're gonna see with time. I know exactly.
See what happens.
Emily, did you have anything else? Did you have any closing thoughts here? Kind of broadly.
No.
Okay.
I think because we could honestly talk about the things we're going to talk about forever.
Yeah, atoms. How are those doing?
There's so many good things. There's so many good things that are happening.
Black Forest.
So many people that are going to be making a difference.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for that. I'm very excited. I'm excited for all of it.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what, Emily? Get us out of here.
All right. Badly Needed and Long Overdue is a podcast about shaking things up in a conservative city. This show is hosted by Nick Raven and Emily Lewis, which is me. You can watch the video version of this show on YouTube at Badly Needed Podcast and listen to us in podcast form everywhere you listen to podcasts. Our theme song was written specifically for us by the Knockblockers, who are a local ska band. Look them up on social media. And you can also find us on all the social medias.
All
We're
of them.
on Instagram, Instagram, Badly Needed Podcast. Twitter, at Badly Needed COS. Facebook, Badly Needed and Long Overdue Podcasts. And on TikTok, Badly Needed Podcast. Go find us, like us, follow us, and see what happens.
Yeah, subscribe, hit that bell. We're Badly Needed and Long Overdue, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.